Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss how you can get 4,000 damage on Apex Legends. Now this is going to have lots of commentary, lots of talking, so if you don't like the type of video, this may not be for you, so we're going to jam-pack this sucker with as many tips as humanly possible. We may also pause and draw on the screen. So when it comes to getting 4,000 damage, it doesn't matter if you land safe or if you land hot. Now the reason I say that is that even if you get 20 kills and you get them early on, sometimes that doesn't necessarily result in, well, 4,000 damage. Sometimes you can have 20 eliminations can only end up with 3,500 damage. You would have to assume that every single kill that you get, that you did 200 damage per person. Now, the beauty when it comes to 4,000 damage and why I say that it's much easier is because, I mean, essentially right off the rip, you don't have to knock everybody. Sometimes it's just about maintaining pressure, but also that's a very important skill that you should have, is maintaining pressure and getting involved as many fights as humanly possible. Let's talk about what we see here on screen, because those are just some of the early tips. Now remember, some fast tips as well. Make sure that you are finishing your knocks. Now you'll notice that I'm not doing that here, is that I'm trying to go for as many eliminations and kills as humanly possible. But as well is that if you finish knocks, it's an additional 100 damage, and that can be very beneficial as well. But the biggest tip is don't fall behind. Don't waste your time looting, get the resources that you need, and fight, 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 fight. Because look at how much damage I have at the moment. I only have 384, yet I have 2 eliminations and only 1 assist. Could that have been higher? Yes, if I got more in their face, and even though I am Vantage, I did land on the... Well, that was a pretty good, decent shot there. We did land on the centerpiece, and I do that with Vantage, and Kings Canyon, while it's not the best map for landing on these hot spots to get your initial 6 shots, can be really great for creating an opening. That is also very important. You'll notice that we don't waste a whole lot of time just looting. There's also the concept that you get your loot when eliminating others. Eliminating other people can be way better in terms of getting your loot than anything else, instead of wasting time. Because imagine we just sat here and reset, went to the back. Well, guess what? I promise you I would have missed out on an additional, like, almost 200 damage. It's very important. Now, the reason why it's also a very helpful tip to secure your knocks is because, one, there's a lot of altar fallbacks. With a lot of people using altar fallbacks, that can also be a benefit because it means that you're also going to reset in the fight. Actually, in this footage, I'm actually using a higher sensitivity as well. I actually doubled my sensitivity. I'm going to talk about that in a more recent video as well, how even though I'm using a sensitivity that's twice the normal speed, how my control has actually gotten better throughout the years, and I'm actually really surprised by that. You probably can't tell that it's faster, but nonetheless it is. So what we're taking away here is getting involved with the fight. Making sure you're not wasting your time looting all the time. Yes, you definitely do need ammo. That's very, very important. You need ammo to be able to shoot. And at some point, look, I have none, which is why I'm mentioning it now. Ask your teammates for loot. You know, check the bodies at this point. Rotate where you need to go. So immediately what I do, and this is beneficial, utilize your team's resources. So let's go ahead and draw on screen and talk about those. It could be hitting a supply bin. It could be hitting the recon. It could be going for the supply, you know, the evil harvester here, the evil harvester there. Think about your rotation. We got a bunch of people in the center of the map there, right? But that rotation can be beneficial to getting your armors up. If you win some early fights, you're most likely already going to be blue. But look how close already, after doing this amount of damage, that we are to maintaining purple. And if you get purple already, then that could be a huge thing. Even though I have one person going for the res, it doesn't mean that I necessarily am just standing by. I'm actually still trying to do a little damage, see if I could pick something off here. Now, I know I'm most likely not going to push this. My justification here was really just to maintain pressure and see if anybody was getting third party, because there was a lot of people there earlier, remember? There was quite a few teams, but unfortunately they get the res and it looks like they had cleaned up the other knock, but it goes into the theme, staying involved, fighting. Now, at this point, I do need resources, and once you need resources, yeah, that's going to mean I'm going to have to run away and reposition. This does cause a delay from our team as well, because we are going to get knocked. So even if you get knocked early or make a mistake early, it doesn't mean that the game can't turn into a high damage or high elimination game. Now, this all depends on the flow of the lobby. If you look in the upper right, you'll notice that this lobby still has 15 squads remaining. What does it tell us? That it's a slow lobby. Now, if we looked at this and we saw only 8 teams remaining, well, most likely this isn't going to be a 20 elimination game, but it still could be a high damage game at the end of the day. You'll notice at the end zone, what you're going to see a lot from this footage is that is where a lot of individual players actually tend to do a lot more damage. Now, getting knocked is also going to be really rough as well. You do not want to get knocked. I know that one is a very simple tip, but the minute that you get knocked, I mean, it's essentially over at that point. You lose all of your momentum, and momentum is very important in this game. I know it may seem silly to always reinforce momentum, but momentum literally means how is your armor, right? Do you have armor? How much resources do you have? How much ammo are you taking off of a body? If you have better armors across the board against your enemy, that means you can maintain momentum and keep pushing. If you all have purples and they all have whites and blues, statistically you should win that fight. Now with current TTK, that's not always possible though. I understand that, and I also will be a little realistic with that. Now, the part that you slow down on, and it might be more beneficial to land center of the zone, even though we didn't in this example, if you want higher eliminations to get a 20 bomb, then you want to land more in the center of the zone most of the time. So then you can branch out rather than having to push in and get gated. You'll notice how all the teams are here, but if we had landed probably in the center of the zone and then worked our way out towards that way, then yeah, it probably would have been a little bit easier to maintain higher eliminations potentially. Flow of the lobby is very important, which is why I encourage all of you guys to understand that 4,000 damage is very doable for a lot of people. Even 2,000, even 3,000 as you're watching this is 100% within your wheelhouse to do. And I promise you after watching this video that you're going to get a better understanding, because you don't have to be the best player. You just have to maintain pressure. And if you can't maintain pressure, my biggest tip afterwards that probably everyone always asks is go into the range and practice with one of the loadouts. You'll notice that I'm really running on bare bones and I have absolutely nothing. But when did I need to stockpile 30 cells or all the resources in the world? Now, you can get them later off of bodies, is what you're going to see, or when you start rotating, and then you start to catch up. But you don't need a 300, 600 bullets unless you intend to use every single one of those bullets. The worst thing you can do is end a round with all that ammo and not have ever shot anything. So our goal at the moment, as we can tell, we slow things down just a little bit. Now we could start running through teams, but because this is diamond, as you can tell, if this was plat and below, we probably could bulldoze the lobby a bit more and just shove relentlessly. But in today's example, you're kind of seeing in diamond where, okay, if we push that team, we're probably going to get 30 in the back. Or if we push the team in the back, then the team up top is probably going to push us. That happens a lot in diamond. You have to keep that in mind. And this team doesn't want to move whatsoever. They're just postured up here and then being incredibly annoying. And this is where, as well, where I encourage, this is a great moment to talk about how you can maintain pressure and damage depending on your loadout. Loadouts are incredibly important, and I realize what I'll do is I'll timestamp every single one of these talking points because they kind of happen organically during the conversation. No, this is not scripted. If we were doing a coaching session, this is pretty much how I would talk and say, okay, now it's time to discuss loadouts. Dude, how much are you maintaining pressure? If you only had close range weapons, let's say an R99 and Volt, you're not doing any damage in between this whole rotation. It's important to make sure that you have at least maybe a DMR, or if you're using an AR, that you're very comfortable using it mid to long range. If I have to use this flatline with a 3x, I promise you, I can definitely blast people from a distance. Also, the flexibility that Vantage does give me is I can use a sniper to main pressure at long range. But unless you are, let's say if we're Ash in that specific scenario and we are not running up or you're not attempting to shoot, then you need to change up your loadout just a little bit. Now, I don't want to encourage people to camp, okay? I want to encourage that you're utilizing your effective range. And you can improve your effective range by practicing with the R99 in the range or the Car SMG to improve your overall aim at a distance. Now, in this scenario, unfortunately, I always recommend if you can get the jump on the opponent, that's ideal. But if you whiff, then you kind of lost your opportunity. I lost my opportunity here. I made a mistake. I whiffed, you know? So I think this person was cut out, and I probably could have pushed, but I didn't have the information, and I didn't want to queue into nothing. Now I have the information. I realize that they're separate, but we're also stuck. So this is where we make a decision, and this is where all the damage ramps up. Okay, there's two ways that you can get 4,000 damage. You can start bulldozing through teams, or you can hold where you believe the end zone is going to be. So at this point, we decide to say, okay, well, we need a few more bit of resources. We can hold. We might as well just hold up because everyone is still existing nearby. It depends on your comp, but we're running Vantage, Watson, and Lifeline, and so there is a limit with how aggressive we can be. I can be aggressive, but my two other teammates may not be able to reciprocate that aggression as much. That's a comp decision. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it doesn't mean that you're not going to get the damage in or the eliminations. It just means what can you eliminate and do for now. I think I get a knock here. Nope, unfortunately I whiff. Been a hot minute since I see the footage. So let's discuss the next thing, which is team composition. Team composition can be pretty huge in terms of whether or not you're going to play aggressively, right? You saw my non-meta video where we're still pushing regardless. It still had a lot of damage, but I promise you a lot of that could have been easier if we were playing legends that were mobile to get more involved. But also why I believe that most casuals and people who don't feel confident are most likely going to hold a strong position. And that's not a bad thing, because even when we see ALGS and comp, holding can be very, very powerful. And because it's very powerful, it could lead to a lot of damage. But I promise you the difference between a casual and a pro is a difference in how you control your recoil, and are you maintaining pressure? Meaning, are you poking for damage? And are you winning your 1v1s at a distance? A lot of what you're seeing here, even, granted, even if I get a knock, what is it going to do? Not a whole lot necessarily, because we don't really look like we intend to push anything, right? But it does tell the enemy team that we're not pushable. And in diamond lobbies, especially this is diamond 3, and there's definitely preds and there's definitely masters in the squad, because I mean, that's all I run into during these lobbies. I promise you, if you whiff too many times, then they start to show less respect. If you go back to any one of my streams, we have seen it many times where a team will realize, see, there's that damage right there. That's also pretty huge. Even though it was only 55 damage, but I'm doing it at a distance, that damage is telling the enemy team, you are not allowed to push up. I'm using a flatline and I can land my shots. Then I promise you, if I was whiffing and didn't land anything, that tells the enemy team, this team is not very good. Now, this game sense happens at a higher level, but I promise you, even at a lower level, if you do this, it works extremely well. I can't tell you many times where even you say, whoa, this guy can beam, or this person's really good, and the difference that makes a very big difference. You'll see how this team that we're shooting at, this is a good example. Oh my gosh, and we actually get shoved. So sometimes, even in diamond, even if you put pressure, they still push. But the reality is they got put down for it. We put pressure on the other team. Imagine I didn't put pressure on the other team and they saw us fighting. Well, then they probably would have pushed. So the theory still goes. And well, they messed around and they found out. They saw shooting. They probably thought I was solo, to be honest, which is why it's important for your whole team to maintain pressure. If you're the only one maintaining pressure, then it looks like you're by yourself not doing anything. And this is where we get all our resources, by the way. They pretty much hand us everything on a silver platter, which is amazing. That's why I always say getting your resources off of opponents is key, maintaining pressure, because if we didn't shoot that team over there, what if they ran up on top of us? Maybe height after they saw the ult go off. I promise you they might have actually pushed. Putting a barrier around yourself and telling people that you are not to be trifled with is important, or else everyone will start to run up and push you and show no respect for you. I mean, even if you maintain pressure, yes, you're going to see pred teams that still will shove almost mindlessly, but that's because they're confident. They're confident in their skill set and they know they can win certain fights. And if they believe, wait a minute, this is the 3v1 up top, if we can eliminate them really, really quickly, we can win. Well, sometimes they whiff too. People are human. Let's go take a look. What were their ranks? They better not have been diamond players or gold or diamond. I'm just kind of curious what that team was. Diamond and plat. Well, you probably deserve that then. Any pred team would never have done that. It did seem a bit odd, but I've seen Stranger Things. Get it, the TV show? I have seen Stranger Things, but nonetheless, it kind of checks out. Now, even there, I don't push inside this building because I consider it a throw. And the reason why at this point we posture up and we don't move from the spot, we have a team underneath, we have two teams across the way. So pretty much what I do where I get all of my damage here is just pretty much playing up top and just snagging kills. It's a big shame I missed that shot because I would have gotten another kill right there. But it's all good. That kills me. And then here you're going to see a bunch of damage dished out. Pretty solid. But there's a reason we don't leave. If we push underneath, the team across the way goes. If we push the team across the way, then they push underneath. This is the part of the lobby. This is so big. I cannot stress how important this moment is. This moment here, when you see about 6 teams remaining, and you got multiple teams postured up, there is no more pushing, quote unquote, in the lobby. Even preds slow down at this moment. We have the team, think of this. We have the team underneath. We have a team over here. We have a team over here, and then we have a team rezzing. There is no pushing in this scenario anywhere without getting third partied. Which is why you hold, and then you maintain pressure, and then you look for the ideal spot to continue fighting. This is why I say it doesn't matter whether you have a lot of kills or you end up with very little kills. When you get to the end game here, no matter what, At minimum, you're always going to get at least 2,000 damage, as long as you're maintaining pressure on all of the teams. See, notice how I'm like, oh, I got a knock there and I try to move. We did try to move at some point. You know, I did get a little excited. I was like, okay, I want to push that. And then immediately down below, the team starts poking. I'm like, they're not going to let us move, man. We just kind of get hard stuck in this spot, which is not a bad spot. We have zone. So then if we left zone, then we would be like another team where it's like, why in the world did they leave? Right? So you got to apply a little logic at some point. Now, if we were all mobility legends and we're all psychopaths, then yeah, sure, you could try to make this happen, but I don't think it's going to necessarily happen with a Watson lifeline and just advantage alone. So again, here is still not letting up pressure, right? Even though we can't fight, it doesn't mean you can't still dish out damage. And if you can't do damage at this distance, that is 100%. I'm going to reiterate it because it's the biggest common theme of today's video is you've got to maintain pressure. Don't maintain pressure, then what are you doing? Notice how I burned through a majority of my ammo too. I hold this amount of ammo because I know I'm going to utilize all of it. If you know without a shadow of a doubt you're not going to utilize that ammo, then you do not need to hold that much. So try to be efficient with your mana usage. Now, at this point, you've kind of gotten the point, but I'll try to do a fast recap in terms of what you're saying. You do want to get to endgame to at least survive, and you want to have a good position. Once you get to about that 4th to 5th zone, lobbies slow up. At the start, it's okay to fight as much as possible. You did see us running from one spot to one spot, and there's the RNG element of how much can I fight? How are my resources doing? Was I able to loot what I needed? Try to get your loot off of other bodies. Don't spend too much time looting. These lobbies die extremely fast. They do, but they do slow down at some point. I've seen diamond lobbies go perform this slow. I've seen it happen in plat. This doesn't always happen, but also gauge, because sometimes you say, okay, well, this is try to say right off the rip, is this a fast lobby or a slow lobby? And that'll give you a great answer right off the rip. If this is a fast lobby, then you know that you need to start rotating and pushing stuff immediately and stop looting, or even then beforehand. And if this is a slow lobby, you got a moment to breathe. Your moment to breathe is okay. Let's say, you know what? Let's get a few more resources because the lobby is slow. Or let's not third party this because we know that the lobby is about to dogpile. That game sense will help you survive, and that survival is going to lead to more damage. Finish not targets, keep maintaining poke. I'm not letting this enemy team breathe. Because of that, they're not shoving underneath. And yes, that can stall. You could use this as a reverse tactic, technically. So everything I tell you could actually be used in reverse. Let's say you say, well, let's not do any damage here. Of course, that doesn't lend to you getting a 4,000 damage game, but then the team underneath decides to push and they need third party because they believe that you're not confident in the fight. That 100% can happen, and that could be a tactic that you employ. But again, it depends on how you approach the situation. I prefer to maintain pressure, and I love maintaining pressure, and that's what leads to all the time getting like 4,000 damage. I realized that we hadn't posted one in a while. I get these a lot. They happen almost all the time. I just decided to use this one because it's of the current season. I just realized, like, you know what, we hadn't done this in a hot minute, and I didn't want to always do 4,000 damage because it felt spammy, but now that I realized, like, you know what, with the new TTK, this is very important. With the TTK being as fast as it is, that's why fights tend to go pretty fast. And you're probably asking, why are we, you know, maintaining pressure on this team, and why do I let up at this point? If I managed to get a knock, I would have kept going, but the other team is also showing respect and not pushing because we've also done a lot of damage to them. That's where we get our kills here. It's a nice cleanup. At some point, you do got to just fight. But it's logical to fight here to clean them up because we clear our backs, but the other team isn't pushing because they're pretty much scared and we burn through the resources. Keep in mind, this is an attrition and resource-based game, so if you keep cracking the enemy team and they no longer have any bats and you have all the resources, just like we got earlier, then you're going to have an advantage over pretty much every single team. Notice that all of a sudden the kills start racking up, the damage starts racking up, it just becomes super easy at this point. Boom, that's the round. If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully this is helpful. Again, I usually love doing this all in one take because I feel like it's more authentic. You hear all the tips in one go. I'll be sure to timestamp everything as a reminder in case you skip to the end for some odd reason. Thank you guys again so much for watching. And of course, we'll see you guys on the next one. Oh, also Saturday stream has moved to Monday because my birthday is on Saturday, July 5th. So I'm kind of moving some things around. Thank you guys. See you guys all real soon. Bye, everybody.